Why do people not say the word "an" anymore?
Hi, my name's Woody. I'm a linguist and a professor of the English language, and I have an answer to your question. And now that I've explained that, I want to respond to these comments because despite them calling other people uneducated, these comments show that they have a complete lack of any kind of linguistics education. Educated people use the word "and." They also use "a." They also use a glottal stop instead of "and." That's totally fine. They're literate. That's it. No, that's wrong. I bet you were saying "and" before you could read when you were an illiterate child. Illiterate people say "and." And literate people can say explanation. The way you read does not reflect the way you pronounce things or your accent. And don't get me started on people saying whenever they want to say when. Don't you mean when they want to say when? Actually, no, it's totally fine to say whenever because it's a punctual whenever. Again, it's part of natural linguistic change. It's especially common in certain dialects of Pennsylvania. Just because people don't talk like you or have the same dialect as you doesn't mean they're less educated or speaking wrong. People wanted the Department of Education defunded. How ironic, because you've clearly never been educated about linguistics. Have fun with there, should have, and people who say ax instead of ask. There and should have are homophones, meaning they sound the same but are spelled differently than some other word. Writing is a representation of how we speak. It is not the natural language itself. And now people are confronted with a certain pronunciation that has multiple different spellings. It's totally normal for people to spell things more like the way they pronounce them, even if that spelling was traditionally reserved for a different word. There are many things you spell differently from Shakespeare. There are things he spelled differently from Chaucer. There are things that Chaucer's works spelled differently from Beowulf, because the language and the writing that represents it change, and that's okay. As for ax instead of ask, I've done like 5 videos on this already. Ax has been in constant use since Old English when the word was oxion. There are people who use it today who've been using it since that time and never said ask. Just because it's not the dialect you learned doesn't mean it's wrong. Imagine disliking someone because they have a different accent from you. That's wild. And then there are other people who say ask because their ancestors used to say ask and then those sounds switch places. This is called metathesis. Again, totally normal, natural linguistic evolution. Just like there are people who say ask because their ancestors used to say ox and those sounds switch places. Just like now most of us say grass, Wednesday, or 30 instead of gars, Wodenstay, and 3D, because that's how all those words used to be pronounced, and then those sounds switch places in metathesis. So you don't think it's a problem when you pronounce things that are the result of metathesis, but when other people do it differently than you? And considering ax is most often associated with multicultural London English or African American English, you should ask yourself if your problem is really their accent or the people who are pronouncing it that way. Every accent, every dialect, every language, the way everybody speaks around the world, no matter what they look or sound like, are all equally valid and beautiful.